text messages. Consent are required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Being young with unlimited energy to burn. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think you could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
All guys lose their edge when they turn 40. The body has less testosterone. That's why I take Nugenix Total T.
I've heard about Nugenix. That really works?
Since I started taking Nugenix, I'm lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. I feel more energized at work. It's even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try?
Yep, send a text. It's that easy.
Text HEFTY to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. It's the #1 selling testosterone-boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now, and they'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text HEFTY to 42424. That's HEFTY to 42424.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
This is Paul Feinbaum. That'll do it for me today. Coming up next, The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
It's the dawning of a new age in Tuscaloosa.
I understand what Alabama football is all about. Roll time.
Join the Crimson Tide as the Kalen DuBois era begins.
Touchdown!
Join us Saturday as the Crimson Tide welcome the USF Bulls to Bryant-Denny Stadium. Our coverage begins at 3 on your home for Alabama football.
Listen to Alabama football all season long on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Tom Luganville here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Mark and Henry McDaniel, attorneys at law, are proud alumni of Madison Academy, and Madison Academy is proud of them. They have served our community through their practice, through volunteerism and service on national, state, and local boards. They explain the complexity of critical court rulings on local media. Their successful practice has been built on integrity. Both are veterans of MA Athletics and proud sponsors of Mustang football. McDaniel and McDaniel, attorneys at law. No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by the lawyer.
You need a lawyer, and pick up the phone. I'm attorney Gary Lackey. When you call for a lawyer, where does that phone ring? It might be in a call center somewhere, maybe 100 miles away. But my phone rings in my office.
The Lackey Law Firm.
I'm attorney Justin Lackey. My phone rings in my office, too.
So does mine. I'm attorney Jennifer Lackey. And when you've been hurt and need help, we're here. We're the ones who take your call.
And get what you deserve.
You want to talk to your lawyer. You don't want to reach a call center. With the Lackey Law Firm, that never happens.
The Lackey Law Firm.
And this is the most important part. We'll treat you like family, because that's exactly what we are.
The Lackey Law Firm.
And I'll go you one better. If you can't come to us, we'll come to you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4-RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
You don't have to go somewhere else just so you can go somewhere new. Plan your next vacation with Huntsville International Airport and Breeze Airways. Enjoy friendly, convenient, nonstop travel to some of the most exciting destinations in the U.S., including the home of 12 world-famous theme parks, Orlando, Florida. With flights starting as low as just $49, Breeze has got you covered with easy, breezy, nonstop flights to Orlando. Make all their dreams come true. Book nonstop to Orlando now at flybreeze.com.
If hunting and outdoor recreation are your passions, it all starts with the right property. That's where I come in. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction, a hunting and recreational land specialist and a Jackson County native who sees land through a hunter's eyes. Just as you trust your guide on a big game hunt, you can trust me to find the perfect property for you. Thinking of selling? Let me help you make your land attract buyers. Remember, Bo knows land. Call me at 256-609-0512.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. This hour is brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford, Alabama's F-150 Superstore. Welcome to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, 256-576-4977.
That's how I roll. And I'm not going to drink and drive anymore.
That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Wes and Steve.
We got plenty to get to over the next 2 hours. Along with Wes Neighbors, Steve Moulton here with you. Deion's at it again. I'll tell you exactly what's going on with Deion and his latest press conference today, questioning the media. And how do you know you had a successful debut? We're talking about putting a C on a jersey. So that was a pretty successful debut for the Alabama Crimson Tide. How are you, Wes Neighbors?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I thought that they played very well.
How dare they put a C on the jersey to signal a captain?
Who said that? I missed that.
It was not known that Alabama was going to change their jersey to put a C on the captain's jerseys.
Because usually they don't name the captains to the end of the year.
Well, he names permanent captains.
Well, they do that usually at the end of the year. So, I mean, he does it his way. I'm sure it was done that way in the past at some time.
What did you think of game one?
So, I mean, there's a lot of things they can improve on, but I love how hard they play and how they were, to me, playing for each other. I mean, you can kind of tell when somebody scores and there are people that aren't in the game out there. I mean, it was the way the team reacted to everything that happened. I liked a lot. Too many penalties. Too many penalties.
This is getting a little scary. Like, we've done this because I immediately went to penalties, and so did you.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, you know the penalties. There's too many. The first game, though.
Yeah.
But playing a lot of young. I mean, how many people did they play?
They played everybody. It felt like.
I mean, even the first half, I think they played. I'm guessing they played 10 to 12 defensive backs.
Yeah.
I mean, how many freshmen were on those that played? I thought the things that I liked the most was, first of all, I listened to Tom, and Tom was saying, I wish they had longer drives. Well, what they did was they were blitzing. And and they were blitzing from every angle. They're run blitzing. We've talked about this before. You got to be patient when they run blitzing. You're going to hit it. And finally, they started picking it all up. And when they pick it up, guess what? When you run blitz, it's a touchdown. 9 times out of 10, if your running back can run. I was impressed with 22's speed because he didn't look like he was running, but nobody was catching him. I mean, they caught him when he got 5 yards in the end zone. The things that I didn't like, there was a lot I liked. I thought Milroad struggled at times early.
First drive of the first half, first drive of the second half were the two worst drives of the game.
Yes. And the first drive, listen, the first play, first of all, your left tackle gets hurt in warm-up. How many times has that ever happened? I don't know. Not very many.
Maybe as often as 2 helmets coming off in the same play.
Thing. So all of a sudden, the third play, your whole your center, your left guard, and your left tackle are all second-string guys. And, in a place where they have a lot of young guys have not played a lot. So I thought that they did a lot of good things, a lot of room for improvement. But when you play, listen, they're playing Western Kentucky. They're not playing LSU. I get that. But Western Kentucky's picked to be second in their league, and their league's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
And you're playing against TJ Finley, who started for LSU, started for Auburn for 2 years, and then goes to Texas State last year and broke all kind of records.
Yeah.
Was one of the top quarterbacks in the NCAA last year. He goes out and he made some good plays. You had Tyson Helton, who is Todd Helton's brother, who is Kim Helton's son, who is those guys know football now. And you look at the offensive coordinator was for Western Kentucky, was an All-American at Alabama, Will Friend. So you start looking. They knew where they were. The moment wasn't big enough for them. The thing that surprised me to the good was the defensive line for Alabama.
Yeah.
It has improved a lot in the 2 weeks since I watched.
I'm just glad they have a competent coaching staff in Tuscaloosa finally.
Well, I don't know who said that.
I'm totally messing with it.
But no, I think that there's
Jordy Arman kind of said as much over the weekend in the Bama recap show, and I'm certainly not at head coach, but the coaching staff improvements.
Well, a lot of the ones were the same ones that he wanted to get rid of years ago.
Yeah,
they're
Freddie.
still there. Yeah. So I can't. Different coaches are there for different reasons, and some people will never understand that, but that's the way it is. There's more than just coaching on the field. There's more than developing people. But I don't think that has anything to do with the fact they got a shutout. I think what happened is what I like most about the team that I haven't said yet is their fight on defense. Because literally, they didn't tackle very well. Red Morgan had a horrible penalty that he didn't need to have. There were a lot of mistakes that they'll be able to correct this time. But I think number 3, Sab, I think he's one of a top safety already. The guy has ball skills. One thing is you can go back and look at the guy that went to Ohio State, number 2.
Caleb Downs.
Caleb Downs, run support, you can't beat his run support. But he got burned a lot. Go watch the tape from last year. I've been watching these games. He got burned a lot. Now, he's just a true freshman, but still, he gave up a lot of plays in Texas. He gave up 2 touchdowns. I think 3's a better cover safety that's been there for a long time. And he made one hell of a play. The first interception, he was just in the right place, disguised what he was. He was there early.
Yeah.
The second was a hell of a play. But I think they played the ball in the air better than he. I would love to have Caleb Downs down to be the other safety. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not sure that I don't like number 3 better on passing downs than I did number 2 from last year.
So probably the bigger storylines is coming out of the state of Florida with what's happening in Tallahassee and in Gainesville.
Well, the quarterback is the problem in Tallahassee. I told you that before the season.
Yep.
I didn't think they'd be very good because of that.
Norvell or Napier, who's in hotter water?
Oh, I think they're swimming like the other lobsters they have in Florida. They don't have long. You throw them in the hot water, they don't have very long. Napier's team. I'd say Napier, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm not sure who's in hotter water. Who should be in hotter water? Because Norvell won all his regular season games last year.
He did.
And
his buyout's a lot more now.
But they'd be foolish to buy him out.
Yep.
This is the time for NIL. You make a lot of bets one year, you're going to win. The next year, that team hadn't gelled. The defense looks like they're running around with their heads cut off. They don't know where to be. The offense has DJ, and DJ's not a great player.
DJ Uiagalelei.
Thank you, but DJ's fine. I got DJ down. I'm not going to try the other part. But you look at Florida. They're playing hard. They get 2
defense.
They got 2 stupid penalties. I mean, you're going to get off the field, and you get 2 15-yard penalties that end up touchdowns. And you have a chance if they don't score those touchdowns, you might have the lead and have the crowd. They lost the crowd. The most impressive quarterback that I saw all week was Miami's quarterback. 100%.
Oh, yeah, Cam Ward.
Now, to me, Jalen Bilrow makes everything look so easy. He looks like but he didn't just do it against Western Kentucky. He did it at LSU last year, Georgia. Tennessee, when he runs the ball.
Yeah, Georgia game was something called the SEC Championship.
Yeah, he just looks like he makes it look easy.
Yeah.
The throw against Auburn.
Yeah.
People call it Hail Mary. It was
31 yards.
It was a strike.
Yeah.
He threw a strike. I mean, he is a freakish athlete that still makes mistakes. Still, he's going to make. Nobody's perfect, but Miami's quarterback,
Jalen Milroe last year at this time to now looks completely
yeah, but he
different
wasn't
to
even
me.
bad then. But he's reading better. But he didn't get the ball out as fast as he did in practice.
This time a year ago, he always had the 0-0 throw, and that's so far in the rearview mirror.
This is true. And you know, he has weapons that nobody thought he'd have. The wide receiver room is a lot better than people thought it would be. You know, the freshman is something special. There's no question about that. He has special speed. He's 17 years old out there making. I mean, they don't cover him on that first one, but there was nobody to cover him.
Yeah.
The corner can't say with him. The safety went with the guy inside. It was going to be a touchdown either way. They just didn't know it. So, I mean, the second one he's David Palmerish on that one. Catches the ball, immediately cuts.
Yeah.
It's just stuff you can't teach. He looks like he's been playing out there for 10 years, and he's 17 years old. So I was impressed with a lot of teams. The teams that should be better, you know, LSU's overhyped. There's no question about that.
I feel like we've talked about that a little bit here on this very program.
Yes, and I told you that. Listen, the quarterback's good, but he's not even close as good as the guy last year. And the offensive line, you know, you make them a lot better when your quarterback can scramble for 40 yards.
And the fact that Brian Kelly goes ballistic a little bit in the post-game press conference.
Well, he should have. I mean, they make stupid penalties.
Yeah.
You got a guy who scores a touchdown and acts like he's shooting a guy in the head with a shotgun.
That's
just somebody. What are you doing? Yeah. But my problem is, he gets mad. He talks about it after. The guy goes in the next play.
Yeah.
To me, he's not going in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just stupidity. Then the secondary is still covering like they did last year. So the defense is better, but it's not going to. But the offense is not better.
So I don't know about you, but early on Saturday morning, I was flipping around, and all of a sudden, I land on ESPN, and I'm watching the Virginia Tech Hokies taking on the Vanderbilt Commodores, and I'm thinking back to our Thursday conversation we had with Mr. No way. There is no chance Vanderbilt can have any opportunity at beating Virginia Tech. Yeah, you remember our conversation with Daddy Time in the Tub with Jesse Simonson?
No, I remember Daddy Time in the Tub, but I'll never forget that. That was
So I did text Jesse during. If you want to go back and listen to
this is Daddy Time in the Tub.
If you want to go back and listen to that, you can. But a heck of a win for Vanderbilt. Of a win for the SEC as well. But on the subject of covering, as much as we're covering the Southeastern Conference, how about a little restoration as well? So Sam Fleming from Fleming Roofing and Restoration is kind enough and get us completely covered. How are you, Sam?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Well, how much football did you watch over the weekend?
I had my in-laws in town, so I watched quite a bit. Yeah. I didn't get a chance to leave.
Were they in the room?
My father-in-law's a big LSU fan. You know, he's like from down there around.
So what does he say?
Well, you know, he watched the first 5 minutes of the game and said, "Oh, well, going to sleep."
Well, the rest of the team did too.
Yeah, I thought it was a good game.
It was a good game. It's just like that. Neither one of those teams are top 10 teams, and they acted like it. They were on TV.
Yeah,
but they're not. Now LSU could get there by the end of the year, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think USC can.
You don't want to listen to Colin Cowherd right now about USC.
Well, yeah, but
he's all in on them Trojans.
Well, I mean, they're not.
Fight on.
I mean, yeah, but in reality, LSU doesn't get the 2 penalties and win the game.
Well, you know those 3 tipped balls by the line in the end. They grab one of them, they win that game.
Oh yeah, well they did grab one, but he couldn't hold on to it.
Yeah.
And I listened this morning to
Scott and Drew.
No, the guy from
you
Atlanta.
Should be listening to Scott.
Well, yeah, but this is
Chuck Oliver.
Chuck Oliver. It's market time for me. Anyway, so I was talking to listening to Chuck Oliver, and he was talking about how, you know, the LSU should be playing the what's his name, number 7 at who was number 4 before at outside linebacker rushing the passer and this and that. Well, the reason he's playing linebackers is they don't have any linebackers. So they're putting the best 11 people on the field. They got to the quarterback. That's the problem. That's not the problem. Problem is they can't cover anybody. They still can't cover anybody. And especially a guy they have
That's Harold Perkins, by the way.
Yeah. And they have elite a couple elite receivers that they were getting the ball to, and they were, but to me, they lost it by getting the penalties because they're getting the ball at the 40-something yard line, and somebody takes their helmet off. Come on.
Brian Kelly's just such a weird coach for LSU.
Well, he is. He
had a moment today talking to the media. Someone in the media was asking about play calling, and to the point where the question was pretty dragged out about the runs and what type of runs. So here's Brian Kelly's response.
What would you like us to do? What, I'm just asking. We run counter, we run tackle pull. I think what you're really getting to is we have to be more efficient with our running game. And I don't know that it's a particular play, Koki, as much as where I sit and what I want is when it's third down and everybody knows you want to run it, let's be creative in running the football, but let's execute at a high level.
That is a little bit of Brian Kelly from earlier today.
They gained a lot of yards. What happened in the game, if just to the layman, is what USC changed. The second half, they took the tight end away. And so all the quick throws to the tight end they made the first half, they couldn't do it in the end of the game. And they just kept trying to go to it, and he was covered. And so the quarterback, after that, he didn't have an answer.
Let's talk to Sam here. Sam, listen, I know everyone wants to talk some football, but if they're in the market for a roof or just need some, if there is, we've had a lot of extreme weather, and it looks like another cold front's coming through this weekend.
We need one. Need another.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It hadn't rained a whole lot in the last couple of weeks, but yeah. I mean, we do residential, commercial. I mean, we're doing a copper stand and seam job downtown right now. I mean, we can do half round gutters, siding, rotted fascia boards. I mean, any kind of roofing material we can do. TPO, metal roofing. I mean,
he did my metal roof on both my houses.
Yeah, and it's not like It's not like I've got one guy that's a jack of all trades. We've got guys that do nothing but metal, nothing but shingles, nothing but commercial roofing. So these guys are very good at what they do. And, we've been around for so long. If you ever have a problem with it, we're always there to take care of you.
Well,
where a lot of people aren't. And they do show up when you call.
Yeah, we show up. Bama showed up. I was impressed.
Yeah.
I was going to say unlike LSU, but I didn't want to twist the knife any deeper.
LSU wins the game if they don't get their penalties. Florida has a chance to win the game if they don't get their penalties.
After I watched that game, I felt like I hate this for a couple reasons. One, because the media is going to darling up USC, right?
Oh yeah,
they always do it.
Oh yeah,
and I felt like LSU should have won the game. And they're going to kind of like hold this loss against LSU, who I think can be a really good team by the end of the year.
I think they could. I just don't think their defense is going to get there. Looking at what they have, they don't have elite players all over the field. They don't have enough defensive linemen. Their players played hard on defense. I thought that was a tribute to the guys they brought in on the defense to make them play harder. But they're still not there. I mean, you listen to T-Bob when you can't really listen to T-Bob without hearing the F-bomb on there. What do they call it? Wine and whiskey?
Whiskey and wine. Yeah. That was in Vegas too.
Yeah.
So it was like it ratcheted up even another level.
Yeah. So, but you look at the just everything about this weekend in football was very exciting. Just trying to keep up with who's where they were, where they're going, and you can see some teams have melted already. Some teams have not.
Well, Sam, how can folks contact you guys if they need your service?
Well, they can call the office at 256-651-9440, or they can get us online at FlemingHSV.com.
And these guys know what they're doing too.
Yeah.
And so that one of the things that when you're building, you don't always get that feeling. You'll get that feeling with these guys.
I appreciate it.
If you're on hold, we will get to you. Trevor Maddich is set to join us on the other side. but I promise you, Bryce, LSU, Lynch, we'll get to you as soon as we are done with Trevor Maddich. And let's go ahead and take our first time out. Tuesday edition of The Drive. I said Tuesday, Wes.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com. By now, you know about Eagle Masonry and Insulation, and maybe you know that Eagle also does landscaping and dirt work. But how about after paint work? Shower doors, shelving, and mirrors, all taken care of by Eagle, the same Eagle that takes care of all your masonry, insulation, and landscaping needs. Eagle brings the same level of expertise to all these disciplines, and they're ready to provide you with a free quote. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
Normally, when you call a roofing company, all you hear is you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Since 1965, the folks at Fleming have been focused on what you need, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement, commercial or residential. And when it comes to storm damage, you want Fleming on your side. They know all the ins and outs of insurance claims and will guide you through the entire process. Log on FlemingHSV.com and book your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Are you feeling tired? Are you feeling sluggish? Gentlemen, Game Day Men's Health. Game Day Men's Health is here to help you. Braden is here. Braden, you've got the answers.
Thanks, Scott. Whether it's low T, erectile dysfunction, weight loss, or a number of other things, we have a solution for them.
It's Game Day Men's Health. Give them a call today at
256-850-1570.
You can find them online.
GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
Hey, what man wouldn't like to have tests done in a man cave?
That's right. Come in for your free test and consultation, walk into a world-class staff, a comfortable, relaxed environment, and we got your results in about 20 minutes with appointments less than an hour.
And the big game is always on the TV. It's Game Day Men's Health. Give them a call.
256-850-1570.
You can find them online at GameDayMen'sHealth.com/Huntsville/The Zone.
Hi, my name is Dan Aldridge. I'm here to let you know about the Aldridge Law Firm and the soon-to-be-announced Legal Town Center. I've been practicing law in Alabama since 1984, and I also practice in Tennessee. And I'm from North Alabama, and I'm here to represent you and take care of your legal needs. For many of us, hiring an attorney is not high on the priority list and maybe a little scary, but it's something that we all need at some point. So by all means, do your homework. And if you need representation for car accident, wrongful death, medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, or estate planning, or any other matter, just give us a call at 256-534-3188. And you can email me at Dan, that is Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. God bless America.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
This segment of The Drive is brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford, located online at woodyAndersonFord.com with 2 locations, Hughes Road in Madison and Jordan Lane in Huntsville.
I gotta wait too long for this post to hit. This is a fantastic song. Anyway, we got plenty to get to here. Week 0 and week 1 are officially done in college football, and to help break it down for us, Trevor Maddich from ESPN is kind enough to join us. How are you, Trevor?
Steve, I'm good. What a great opening pair of weekends that was. So much drama, so much fun. And after all the anticipation for the changes in the offseason, we finally got to swap some paint.
Well, I don't know how much fun it was for Seminole fans because they went 0-2 there in week 0 and week 1. But from just what you see from Tallahassee and Gainesville, Norvell or Napier, who's in hotter water right out of the gate, you think?
Well, I think that Norvell is feeling a lot of pressure, but he's not in hot water because of what he did last year. I mean, he went 13-0 and only didn't make the 14 playoff because the committee didn't think that it was the same team after his quarterback got hurt on what I considered a cheap shot late in the season. And so 13-0, I mean, you can't be any better than that. And he did a phenomenal job coaching them the last couple of games, including the ACC championship game, which they won without their quarterback. So that I don't think he's on the hot seat, but I think they feel a lot of pressure right now in Tallahassee because the reason that they lost, they lost to Georgia Tech and to Boston College because they couldn't stop the run at all. They had no answer for a mobile quarterback from either team at all. Their defensive line got pushed around, and their offensive line got pushed around. They were soundly defeated 2 games in a row by Georgia Tech and Boston College because they lost both sides of the line of scrimmage. Now, DJ Uyunglele is taking a whole lot of heat, but he's the kind of quarterback that can take a team as far as it can go anyway. What he hasn't shown the ability to do is take a team farther than it's really able to because he is so much of a playmaker. We saw that from Diego Pavia, who's the Vanderbilt quarterback, who brought the Commodores back from trailing with 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter to force overtime against Virginia Tech. And that's a Virginia Tech team that was a sleeper to make the ACC championship game. Either way, they returned the most production of any team in the country. That was a really good Virginia Tech team. And Diego Pavia, his playmaking was able to compensate for inadequacies in other places of the roster of Vanderbilt. Remember last year, Diego Pavia was quarterbacking New Mexico State. They went to Auburn and beat Auburn. And it wasn't because they had a better roster top to bottom. It's because they had a quarterback who could make up the difference. DJ Uyunglele is not that quarterback to make up the difference. But unfortunately, there were enough problems in other places on the roster that he needed to be, and he wasn't able to compensate for it. So it's not all his fault. But right now, I don't know what Florida State does to fix it because what's mostly wrong is the trenches.
They look like, to me, they look like the LSU team after they won the national championship. The next year, they looked like they were in slow motion, and nobody really knew what to do. I mean, it's like somebody's missing a block every play. So they get 6 yards on first down, then they jump off sides. It's just they just don't look in sync on either side of the ball to me.
Yeah, and I understand that, Wes, in the opener against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's offense, they led the ACC in rushing last year, and they're even better now. I mean, they got seniors and grad students all over that offensive line and that offense. I mean, they're really experienced and really good at running the ball. And, the key for them was to not have as many turnovers from their quarterback. And lo and behold, there were no turnovers in the game against Florida State. So we expected Georgia Tech to put up a heck of a battle. But Boston College was expected to be kind of a Midland team with a puncher's chance because of, Castellanos is a terrific dual threat quarterback. And the Georgia Tech opener was supposed to be a wake-up call for Florida State, a wake-up call to bear down, to be prepared, to focus on assignments, to focus on playing with violence and playing with discipline. What better wake-up call can you get than to be considered a national championship contender and lose your opener? And that's why I'm concerned about them, because they should have played their best ball maybe of the season against Boston College, and they got pushed around again. Nothing got better. In some ways, it got worse, and that's what worries me about Florida State.
And agreed, totally. Another thing, though, is I thought they were going to win the game. When that, because to me, when Boston College's defensive back started going down with cramps, and they couldn't cover number one. Poirier, what's his name? Poirier? And Poitier. And then they don't throw the ball to him one time after the last touchdown. Not one time. He's open too on the fourth down play. On the beginning of the fourth quarter, he's wide open, and they don't even look his way. I don't get stuff like when you get a guy like that they can't cover. I'm throwing them every down until finally half the teams walk. I mean, to me, they got to find a way to win until you figure out the other things. And they have more problems to me than just what's obvious when you're watching. They have a team chemistry problem some way. It has to be.
That may be the case, and they brought in a bunch of key transfers on both sides of the ball, and they didn't seem to be in sync on either side of the ball, did they?
No.
Right, and that's a big deal. And by the way, that's what Dabo Sweeney at Clemson talks about, where he's saying, look, you can bring in transfers all you want. We want to have our homegrown recruits that have been here for a while, and we're going to develop them, and they're going to get to know each other, and our chemistry is going to be better than yours, et cetera. It sure didn't work out that way against Georgia, but that's sort of the concept there, because the risk with bringing in transfers is that they will not gel into a cohesive unit. That's why Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss is really the genius of the portal, because he's able to bring in rather large numbers over the last couple of years of transfers and get them to buy into the team concept, rather than guys thinking, okay, well, I'm a transfer, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to be me, And so, that there may be bigger problems, but see, Florida State tried to go to their big tight end, what was his name, Morlock or something, 87. They kept on trying to go to him, and he kept on dropping the ball. Or DJU kept on missing him, right? So then they go to Poitier, and he's another big guy, 6'3", big receiver, and he caught a few passes, but then they kind of got away from it. So it's like, okay, well, who are you going to ride? What are you going to do to find the stars? Because you know the drill. I mean, the biggest cliche in the sport is it's not about X's and O's, it's about Jimmys and Joes. And you got to ask yourself, well, okay, so does Florida State not have a guy that they can be there, they can have as did they not do a good job at identifying and getting to the ball to their go-to? And I don't know what the problem is yet as far as that's concerned, because I'm just too busy watching the train wreck on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. I mean, you can't they're getting beat on the first move. A lot of these guys they're starting offensive linemen are getting beat on the first move. You have no prayer. So then they started rolling DJ out, and he did better because he wasn't getting hit. But when you're going to throw the ball way downfield, you can only do so much rolling out.
Talking to Trevor. Go ahead, Trevor. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve. No, I interrupted you.
I was just going to say we're talking to Trevor Maddich right now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Please go ahead, sir.
Oh, yeah. No, in taking notes of that game, I kind of charted the game, and which I'm usually watching 4 games at a time, charting them all. My brain is, it needs an oil change every week and a half or so. But but I'm early in the game. They were trying to get easy throws for DJ, right? Yeah. So he could just sort of get uncorked and get some rhythm going on. They either missed a guy or the guy had dropped the ball. It wasn't working. Then he was getting pressure. To your point, Wes, he was getting pressure. So then they started to throw short outs. Well, he wasn't able to get the ball there. So then they started to try to run passing plays over the middle. But the defense covered them up, and they weren't able to complete passes over the middle. So then they started to roll them out a little bit to give them an easier throw, and they couldn't do it. Finally, I don't know what it was, late first quarter, early second quarter, they finally, and I almost laughed at this play, they rolled him out to the right. They had the running back go out like 1 yard past the line of scrimmage and parallel his run. And he just flipped the ball to the running back. The running back caught it. And I put my hands in the air like, yay, they completed a pass. But that's the most elementary, easy kindergarten thing where you say, okay, you can't chew meat. All right. Here's some scrambled eggs. Okay, you can't chew them. Okay, here's some strained peas. Oh, good, you chewed the strained pea. That's what that play was. It was strained peas. And they weren't able to ever get past the scrambled egg portion of the requirement to chew. And so it was
strained
just funny
pea
to
on
see how
one.
the coaches. What's that, Wes?
It's an overripe strained pea on one.
Oh, there you go. That's really funny. Oh, that's our new favorite play. Isn't it? But in looking at it, they had to do that because they couldn't complete a pass otherwise.
Well, what teams did impress you from breaking down as many games as you did, Trevor?
Well, Georgia, they weren't awful. Yeah. They had their top two running backs out because of injury and suspension. Yeah. And the young guys ended up, taking a half to get used to the speed of the game against a truly elite defense. Clemson's defense is one of the best in the country, and we're going to see that play out. And Georgia only scored 2 field goals in the first half. They led 6-0. But then in the second half, those young guys started to get into a rhythm, and they unloaded. They scored 4 touchdowns against Clemson in the second half. They just blew them out of the water. And that was impressive because it wasn't like Ole Miss played somebody that nobody ever heard of at this level. And, and so did Tennessee, and so did, Alabama played a FBS school, but they weren't able to slow them down. Well, this Clemson defense is one of the best in the country. And in the second half, Georgia just opened a can on them. And it's not just they did well. It's like, they had over the course of, they had 4 different runners have a run of 10 yards or more. They had, I think, 7 different receivers, 3, 4, 5, 6 different receivers have a catch of 15 yards or more. And it was true freshman Nate Frazier from Compton, California, who was in both groups. He had a 40-yard run. He had a 24-yard catch. He was one of those young guys that had to step into the breach when the top 2 running backs were out. So Georgia, to me, given what they faced, and given there was a hole in the offense that they had to account for, they accounted for it. And they were a completely different team on offense in the second half. And it was just really amazing to watch.
So Clemson or Miami, who has the inside track, you think, to the ACC championship?
Well, you got to think Miami, right? Because they've got the quarterback in the passing game and the offensive line. Other than that, they're pretty similar on offense, I think. Yeah. But the thing about Miami, Cam Ward, the quarterback, gets all the love, right? And he should. He started in Incarnate Word and he lit up the FCS. Then he went to Washington State and he did so well against the Pac-12 that they went ahead and canceled the rest of the Pac-12 existence. And then he transferred to Miami, and and he made difficult plays look effortless.
Ice water.
Yeah.
He was out for a stroll. This is like, I've never seen anything like it.
Right? I mean, he threw a pass out wide to the right, short pass, and there was a defender like literally on his body. So he dropped his arm and just in contact with the defender. Threw a sidearm pass, that little short pass, and so that was good. Then he'd have guys, in his face, and so he'd throw a touchdown pass down the field in the back of the end zone, falling off his back foot, about to get hit in the face. Okay, no problem. Then he'd have another guy unblocked in his face, and he'd spin out, and he'd roll out to the left, and then pressure's on the way, and he'd just flip his shoulders and flip it downfield for another long touchdown pass in the back of the end zone. I mean, the guy just, everything that Florida tried to do to him, he just ate it up and spit it out. It was amazing what he did. But Miami, see, we've talked a lot about trenches, right? Yeah. Of course, we're doing a conversation with Wes, so we got to talk about trenches. But Miami's offensive line has steadily improved, and some of those guys that were too young to really be playing a few years ago now have experience, and so their talent comes to the fore rather than their inexperience coming to the fore. And this offensive line pushed Florida around. I mean, they pushed them around. It's not like Florida has Georgia's defensive front. They don't. But they're still, from a talent standpoint, a kind of a mid-level SEC team, I would think, 7, 8, something like that. And Miami just handled them on both sides of the ball. By the way, their defensive line did as well, and that's why I think they're more balanced than Clemson. If you had me pick a defensive unit, I'd take Clemson over Miami as a unit. Although I think Miami can be very, very good on defense. But offense, it's not even close. Give me Miami over Clemson. And I think from a balance standpoint, Miami has a better chance to.
Well, I don't think Clemson's quarterback can make the plays to beat a good team. They're going to win games because of their defense. But you look at the first play. Yeah. You look at the first play against Georgia, which was an easy, great call, going to be a big play.
Yeah.
And he can't get it to the back out of the backfield, not even close. No pressure. Just couldn't. They had their opening 2 or 3 plays were for him to make throws and had people wide open and couldn't hit them. And you're not going to beat Georgia unless you got to put pressure on them, and you got to move the ball and make the easy throws, and he can't do it. Where on the flip side, you have Miami's guy, and you want to play you talking about offensive lineman going to play hard for him, knowing that if he can give him just another split second, he's going to find the open guy, and he doesn't have to be real open, and he's going to make a play. And those are the kind of quarterbacks you fight for, because you know that every little split second you can give him, that he can make plays for you. Whereas Clemson, I just thought Clemson offensive line was not very good either.
No, well, Clemson's offensive line, really, even in their best years, has been pretty good. But they've not been that dominant Joe War award-winning finalist offensive line. When Clemson's been great, they've had a great quarterback and great receivers. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, the first pick in the draft for Clemson, the quarterback, he made a bunch of amazing throws his last year at Clemson, but he also made a bunch of throws that were amazing on the box score, but they were pretty bad on the field, where he'd throw the ball 50 yards down the field, just up for grabs. He'd throw it on the wrong side of the receiver. He'd throw it on the side that the defender was trailing the receiver. And then big receivers like T. Higgins and Justin Ross would just go up and get the ball anyway. And that would overcome not deficiency, but it would overcome an offensive line that probably wasn't national championship caliber on its own. They haven't had that for a long time. And Cade Klubnik, the current Clemson quarterback, he was, I think, a 5-star, right? He was one of or at least he was he was one of the highest recruits coming out of high school. So you would think that he would develop. Of course, so was DJ Uyunglele, and that didn't work out either. And so the quarterback situation hasn't worked out, but how much of that is because they haven't had that kind of receiver? Last year was tough for Clemson because Antonio Williams, he was injured a lot of the year, and he was really a guy that they were counting on to be explosive. In camp, he's been incredibly explosive, and he was their leading receiver against Georgia. Had a really good game against Georgia, actually. But they're counting on a couple of young, fast guys, TJ Moore and Bryant Wesco, highly recruited guys, but they're true freshmen, or at least they're freshmen, and they are not quite ready for prime time. They combined for 2 catches against Georgia. And so the great quarterback combined with a great receiving core still hasn't materialized at Clemson since Trevor Lawrence and T. Higgins and those guys. And that's really been what's holding them back. I mean, this year, Georgia would have pasted most teams, right, in the opener. I mean, they would have annihilated most teams, in fairness. But Clemson, their ceiling, they could still make the playoff, who knows, but their ceiling won't really be their defense. Their ceiling will be their wide receiver core and those young receivers coming up to speed and becoming true deep threats, because this team will not go any higher than their receivers will take them because of the nature of Clemson's offensive line. They're not going to bully people.
I realize we're talking to you here on a Tuesday, but the early returns, what do you think of Michigan, Texas coming up this weekend?
Oh, boy. Yeah. If you're a Michigan fan, you're thinking that maybe if a spacecraft came down and abducted the entire Texas team before they got to the field, that would be good. Michigan's defense is all that. I mean, they've got multiple first-round draft choices on the D-line, first-round draft choices in the secondary. I mean, Michigan's defense is fine, and that's a really fun matchup. it's going to be when you see Texas's offense against Michigan's defense. But Michigan's offense, oh my gosh, was it hard to watch in the opener.
Yeah.
Fresno State, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you.
Yeah, Fresno State's defense will not be confused with the 85 Chicago Bears anytime soon. Right? So, or even the 23 Michigan defense. They just won't.
Yeah.
But Michigan's offense has 5 new offensive linemen starting. In other words, the entire offensive line is new starting quarterback, new number 1 receiver, new number 1 running back, and really nothing worked except for one thing. And that is one of the great returners, Colston Loveland at tight end, one of the best in the country at that position. He had more receiving yards than all other Michigan. Davis Warren, the new quarterback, he just wasn't able to find any rhythm at all.
Yeah.
The offensive line wasn't able to, bully anybody. I mean, a lot of the time you'd look at the line of scrimmage in Fresno State bullying the Michigan offensive line. Not good. That doesn't mean they're not talented. It just means their first game out, they're not ready. And Wes, as you know better than everybody, for an offensive line to work well, they have to work well together. And in your first game, as 5 new guys, you have to give them a little bit of grace, because that's tough. But here comes Texas. Texas is going to have a really good, really salty defense with some very good pass rushers. And whereas Michigan has a first-year starting quarterback and a brand new offensive line, Texas has a quarterback with extensive starting experience in Quinn Ewers and an experienced offensive line that's considered one of the best in the country. Right there, all the pressure is on Michigan's defense to pull off a miraculous performance in order for Michigan to have a chance. Because that offense right now, until they prove they're not good.
I wanted to close with Alabama, and what did Alabama look like to you, Trevor?
Well, they looked great. I mean, fans, SEC fans that are not Alabama fans, that are excited that Nick Saban's not there anymore, thinking that, okay, Alabama's just going to take a fall back into the kind of the top tier, but not be the, awesome team they've been. They need to wait for a little bit, because Kalen DeBoer is an amazing head coach. And so far in the offseason, everything I've heard, you guys may have heard something different, but everything I've heard is that the players love him, that recruiting is going great, number 2 class for coming up in 25 so far. So recruits are coming. They lost some transfers, but they're still bringing in great talent. Then in the first game, they ripped Western Kentucky to shreds on both sides of the ball for the most part. Yeah. And I like Jalen Milroe was fantastic. He didn't have a whole lot of opposition, so I don't know how much to read into that. But he's got a different kind of a style that he's being asked to perform at. And his first time out, he performed at it very well. Defensively, TJ Finley, the quarterback for Western Kentucky, is a former LSU guy, and he's not going to be intimidated by the SEC.
That was his 4th start against Alabama.
Yeah, and how did he do?
I mean, he looked okay. I mean, they just couldn't block Alabama.
Yeah, well, no, they couldn't, and he couldn't compensate for it. And overall, the production from the position, it wasn't good, because Alabama, if there's anything that you could point to on the defense where you might have a concern coming into the season, it would be at corner, especially depth at corner if you spread them out, and it would be in the pass rush. And Finley wasn't able to find people. He just wasn't. And that's, traditionally an offense that can do that. And so far, so good with them. As far as the pass rush is concerned, you don't have to actually sack the quarterback to have an effective pass rush. Mm-hmm. And they got to him and bothered him and all that stuff. They only had 1 sack for the game. So I'm going to be interesting to see as they start to face better competition if the pass rush gets better, because, those 2 edge rushers, Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell, that went off to the NFL, they've got to replace that production. But those are things that we have to look for Alabama, because, and that's really trying to nitpick right now, because their opener, they were fantastic.
Trevor, you're the best. We always learn so much, and it's great to talk about games, and it's been a very busy offseason, but finally great to break down some games, sir.
Well, listen, I appreciate you guys having me on. It is so much fun to talk with y'all. You know, Steve, you and I and Wes, we put our heads together and we trade paint, man. We need to wear a helmet when we do these conversations.
You're damn right.
Split P on one.
Yes,
Ready?
Sweet P on one.
Strained P.
You know, but strained P. But, you know, here's the thing. We didn't mention NIL one time.
How about that?
That was the best conversation yet. I know.
Yeah. Well, here's the conversation to have about that. Every team that signed a quarterback that had big NIL money that didn't get Cam Ward is probably really upset with themselves right now.
Yeah. Buyer's remorse. No question going on in Tallahassee right now.
Thank you, Trevor.
Thanks, guys.
That is Trevor Maddich from ESPN.
Strained P on one.
That's right. That's right. Well, hopefully I'll be able to see Trevor this weekend. Just need DirecTV to do their part. Anyway, so that was also a storyline from over the weekend. Let's take our final time out here in hour number 1. We'll take your calls on the other side.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This summer, make it a Woody Anderson Ford. Make it 0% financing, make it no down payment, and make no payments for 90 days. Hey folks, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford. It's our Ford summer sales event, and I promise you can save serious dollars on a large selection of our 2024 Fords. We've got financing as low as 0% for 36 months on 2024 F-150, Explorer, Expedition, Edge, Escape, plus all-electric F-150 Lightning and Mustang Mach-E. And on all these Fords I just mentioned, you'll make no down payment and no payments for 90 days. Can you say Orange Beach, here we come? This is going to be a good summer. Come choose from over 550 new Fords, and you'll learn firsthand that nobody will work harder to earn your business. Brand new award-winning Fords with 0% financing, no down payment, and no payment for 90 days with your good credit. This offer ends 9/3/24. Come see us today and make it a Woody Anderson Ford. Hope to see you soon.
If hunting and outdoor recreation are your passions, it all starts with the right property. That's where I come in. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction, a hunting and recreational land specialist and a Jackson County native who sees land through a hunter's eyes. Just as you trust your guide on a big game hunt, you can trust me to find the perfect property for you. Thinking of selling? Let me help you make your land attract buyers. Remember, Bo knows land. Call me at 256-609-0512.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying, but they can also signal a major problem, or worse, an electrical emergency. So play it safe and leave it to the experts at Mr. Sparky. Trust our team of professional, clean, and friendly electricians. We'll get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Independently owned and operated, licensed in the respective state or county.
Flying nonstop from Huntsville is a breeze on Breeze Airways. They're nice people flying nice people to nice places on really nice planes. Let's be direct. Nonstop from Huntsville to the places you want to go. Las Vegas, Orlando, or Tampa starting at $49. It's time for a weekend getaway or a long overdue week away. Time to check in using the convenient Breeze app and check out. What are you waiting for? Book today at flybreeze.com. That's flybreeze.com. Breeze Airways. Seriously nice.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
It's the dawning of a new age in Tuscaloosa.
I understand what Alabama football is all about. Roll time.
Join the Crimson Tide as the Kalen DuBois era begins.
Touchdown!
Join us Saturday as the Crimson Tide welcome the USF Bulls to Bryant-Denny Stadium. Our coverage begins at 3 on your home for Alabama football.
Listen to Alabama football all season long on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Hi, this is Chris Stewart. The quest for a 19th championship starts this fall. Listen to Alabama football all season long on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Back here with you on the drive, along with Wes Neighbors. Steve Moulton back here with you. Coming up at the top of the hour, Chris Lee from Southeastern Conference 16 and Vandy Sports is going to join us. We'll talk a little conference as a whole with him. The morning show, guys, the Morning Blitz, it's now 2-hour extravaganza, put out a poll question on our Twitter. What is the biggest college football storyline from week 1? Alabama, Auburn, FSU goes 0-2, or DirecTV fallout with ESPN. Right now, FSU 0-2 leads the way.
No question.
At the
So we haven't talked much about Auburn. We ought to.
Yeah.
Because they're very improved. I don't think they could have scored 70 points against Air last year.
That's true. Yeah.
And it's obvious their talent. But
the wide receiver core was much improved.
Yeah, much improved. We'll see how they do. The offensive line does against the real defense.
They've got Cal this week.
Yeah, and Cal will be better. I mean,
well, I don't know. I went back and watched a little bit of the Cal game, but they played UC Davis, and that was hard to watch.
Really? Who won?
Cal did. So, anyway,
but last year, you remember the Cal Auburn game was one of the worst games I've ever seen.
Yes.
And I just think that Auburn will do very well with their talent level and the way they're playing until they play a real good defensive line. And then that's where the rubber meet the road, and we'll see how they do.
It's true. Let's talk to LSU Lynch, who's been holding patiently. How are you, LSU Lynch?
Look here, I don't have to send a damn Alabama fan to go up to Tennessee, cross the state line, hopefully want to scratch off so I can pay for this phone call. Hear me? 4 to 6 minutes. The only highlight of this whole weekend has been my Hazel Green because we was 0-10 last year.
Mm-hmm.
So we went 39-0 against the East Limestone. And look here, Wes, I want to tell you this week, thank you for responding. My nephew, he actually got to start and everything and got on the field Saturday night against Normal, Alabama. But now I'm going to ask you this. Now listen to me. I'm going to hang up. Why is the head coach asking the A&M fans, y'all got to buy 10 to 15,000 season tickets in order not to play in Auburn? Because they just got paid $525,000. But the man just said it. He's telling those fans, really?
Keep going.
Yeah. No,
no.
That'd be LSU hanging up on himself. We did not hang up on LSU.
LSU Lynch, you got a minute left. I was enjoying your rant.
He gone.
You can feel free. I mean, I know he's not new to listening to this particular program or this particular station.
And we don't control the music.
No.
It's
a hard time.
Yeah. Well, I'll hear about it. I control the music.
Anyway, so
Lemon love, brother.
Yeah, these schools have to play these games or they wouldn't have a program.
Yeah.
So but I think they should have paid them more than $500,000. You should have paid. Normally they pay $1 million something dollars.
Chris Lee is next.
You need a lawyer and pick up the phone. I'm attorney Gary Lackey. When you call for a lawyer, where does that phone ring? It might be in a call center somewhere, maybe 100 miles away, but my phone rings in my office.
The Lackey Law Firm.
I'm attorney Justin Lackey. My phone rings in my office too.
So does mine. I'm attorney Jennifer Lackey. And when you've been hurt and need help, we're here. We're the ones who take your call.
And get what you deserve.
You want to talk to your lawyer. You don't want to reach a call center. With the Lackey Law Firm, that never happens.
The Lackey Law Firm.
And this is the most important part. We'll treat you like family because that's exactly what we are.
The Lackey Law Firm.
And I'll go you one better. If you can't come to us, we'll come to you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4-RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Nick DeLuca. U.S. Open action continues in Queens. Quarterfinals on the women's side of the bracket. Number 2 seed Arina Sabalenka taking on number 7 Keen Wen-Jun. Third meeting between the two. Sabalenka has won both, including the 2024 Australian Open final 6-3, 6-2. She's the favorite to win the U.S. Open on ESPN Bet at plus 145. Match coming up shortly on ESPN TV. And the NFL holdout is over for Trent Williams, Niners All-Pro tackle, returning to the team after agreeing to a restructured deal. Includes $48 million at signing, ending his contract standoff and putting him in line to play Week 1. ESPN NFL analyst Dan Orlovsky says it's massive for San Francisco.
Trent Williams is the best player in that conference that's not a quarterback, certainly the most important for a team that's gone to the NFC Championship game and then the Super Bowl in subsequent years. Trent Williams, this is a top 10 offensive line in San Francisco. Without him, it's a bottom 10. So for the team that is the defending NFC representative, to get him back was basically necessary to be a realistic contender again in the NFC.
Orlovsky on SportsCenter. Meanwhile, Steelers defensive tackle Cam Hayward cashing in, signing a 3-year, $45 million deal, including $29 million in new money and $16 million fully guaranteed. The Jets extending corner Michael Carter, agreeing to a 3-year, $30.75 million deal, can be worth up to $33 million.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Wednesday, ESPN predicted the Lions to beat the Chiefs in Super Bowl 59. I'll tell you why I disagree with it. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
.97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Welcome to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, 256-576-4977.
That's how I roll. And I'm not going to drink and drive anymore.
That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Wes and Steve.
Hour number 2 rolls along here on a Tuesday. Just got done talking to Trevor Mattich from ESPN. Plenty to get into with our next guest as well. I'm telling you, it was fun watching Vanderbilt football over the weekend. And we'll talk some SEC. You can follow our next guest at Chris Lee 70 on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. But we'll talk some Vanderbilt sports right now with Chris Lee, also from at 16 Southeastern as well. How are you, Chris?
Doing well. I thought you said it well. Vanderbilt football was fun for a change, and it's been a minute since we could say that.
It almost feels like I'm speaking a different language.
So I didn't know they had gotten New Mexico's.
Oh, the entire roster. That was one question that I meant to ask in last week's teleconference.
That guy's my
Coach
hero.
Lee
He body slammed an Auburn defensive back last year with that on an interception. I'll never forget it. He got a personal foul. The quarterback got a personal foul penalty. He instantly became a hero of mine.
Your takeaway from what you saw up there in Music City, Chris?
Yeah, I've heard a few people say it felt like they were the better team, and I just wouldn't have expected them to win a game like that. I mean, I went to a lot of the practices. The offense just never really looked good, and I thought they would need one of those, 20-17 type games where they get a pick six or something like that to win, and you feel kind of like lucky that they did it and hung on. It didn't really play out that way, and look, here's a lesson: fall camp is fall camp. And especially when you're bringing in a new offensive coordinator, a new quarterback, new lots of things, and a philosophy that came with it from New Mexico State, it can take a while for kids to get ready. Diego Pavia wasn't there during the spring. He came in the summer. Yeah. And I think, I always figured they would be tough to defend because it's not a triple option attack, but it's the closest thing that you'll see to that in the SEC, and it's just different. But for them to be as good as they were, Pavia, I think, was 12 for 16 through the air for a $190. They made some plays downfield. He made some tremendous plays just in his decision making. It felt like at the end of the day, not only did they win the game, but it didn't really feel flukish. And I think that's the best thing coming out of it. If you're Vanderbilt, besides getting the win, is it felt like it was a little legit the way you did it.
I don't know the backstory, but how did Jerry Kill end up in Nashville?
Well, I will tell it. It'll take a couple minutes, but this is the way I've kind of pieced it together. They're just getting throttled last year by everybody. They lost all 9 of their games against Power 5 teams by, I think, 16 points or more. And they just, they thought they had a developmental plan where kids will come and they'll stay and they'll be here 5 years. And, that's right when Clark Lee was getting started. Well, you know how that's going. Highest bidder wins. And that just wasn't working out. And they started looking back and going, the last time we beat anybody who's anybody, it's when we had Mike Wright. And Mike Wright was not the best passer in the world, but what he was a 10-600 meter guy. And he's a guy that could make plays out of nothing. And they won 2 at the end of 2022. Mike Wright moved on to Mississippi State. They thought they had their quarterback with A.J. Swan. They had his backup at Ken Seals. And then last year happened and it fell apart. So they're going through and looking and going, all right, how can we beat somebody, with that kind of thing? Because that's what you can do. You can shorten the game. You can have a quarterback who can make plays. We got everything covered, and he runs for 12 on 3rd and 8 or whatever. So they started looking at that, and they kind of looked at that Auburn game last year where Jerry Kill, and Vanderbilt's a program that doesn't have a crazy number of resources. Well, New Mexico State is probably a bottom 5 Power 5 or bottom 5 FBS program out there. So they looked at that and said, hey, here's a team that's winning games that shouldn't be winning games. And, oh, by the way, they beat Auburn. Let's dig into that a little bit. That led them to Jerry Kill. That led them to Tim Beck, who's their offensive coordinator. That led them to Diego Pavia. That led them to Eli Stowers. That led them to the place where they went and did something different and got a win. And hats off to them, because if you're Vanderbilt, you're just not going to line up hat for hat without a little trickery. And it all just kind of came together on Saturday.
It sure did. And even when you felt that boulder running down the hill, Vandy had an answer. And that's what made me think, okay, this is different, because once that boulder has gone down that hill in recent years, there was no stopping that boulder.
Yeah, there was. And let's go back and look at the play that put them ahead.
Yeah.
You had a cornerback that took a gamble, thought he saw something that was there, a chance to make a play. Wouldn't end up happening because he made that gamble. You had a receiver that was as open as you're ever going to see it, and Virginia Tech got about the easiest 62-yard touchdown throw you'll ever see. Yeah. And so it wasn't just losing the lead, it was giving it away like that. And I think everybody in that place, if you're wearing black and gold, you probably felt deflated. You're like, we've seen this a million times before, and not just to go back and tie the game and send it to overtime. They got a chance to get the ball again, and the kicker who hit 2 nice field goals all day misses a kick. You're like, all right, it's overtime now. And not only have they got to go win it there, but they get the ball first, which is what you usually don't want, but it worked out for them, and they overcame a lot to get there.
Also, add on to that, your defensive coordinator is your head coach at the same time, although the way he was explaining it in the teleconference last week, how involved do you think Clark Lee is actually in the play calling play-by-play, you think?
You mean for defense?
For defense, yes, sir.
I think it's his defense. I think it's his everything. Now, let me clarify. I've not gone back and asked him that because that was my assumption. But I think that's what it is.
Well, I mean, the fact that it came down to a 4th down in overtime and the defense kind of held their own, I mean, it just it's got to be a huge injection of confidence, I would assume, because of all the changeovers from this roster to the front office to those that are calling plays on both sides of the ball, Chris.
Yeah, and I think the defense is the thing that got lost in that. They had 4 sacks in that game. They had a turnover where they deflected a ball and the defensive lineman kicked it off. They did run through a spell in the third quarter where it got pretty ugly, but that was also the part where their 2 starting corners were both out of the game for various reasons. So I think you go back and you say, hey, they played well enough to win, and if they get both those guys back on the field at once, it looked pretty good when they were in. So we'll see. I think that's the thing in all the Diego Pavia talk, and that should be the storyline. But I think they did some other things too that you felt like, hey, maybe they got a little chance to be competitive that we didn't see coming.
So all of a sudden, Alcorn State this week at Georgia State, which I mean, at Georgia State, you're going to Atlanta just playing in what used to be Olympic Stadium down there. But then at Missouri, all of a sudden I'm circling September 21st. Very intriguing. Very intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, that was the one thing that you said before the season. If they can by chance get Virginia Tech, they've got a really good shot to be 3-0. I think Missouri's going to be an uphill climb, but, it's a better team than we thought we were getting. And then you get a bye week and then you get Alabama, and that's going to be no fun. But hey, look, if you go 3-0, you've established some hope. Maybe you can get a South Carolina or Kentucky or, who knows, maybe you can repeat what you did in Auburn last year if that New Mexico State staff. But I think, for a change, you come out of week 1 and it feels like there's a little bit of a path to something better than you've had for a while. And I think that's all anybody could hope for coming into the year.
How many of the SEC 16 do you think you saw like tangibly, okay, I know what this team is? Because there was a lot. I can hear it in your voice right now.
Yeah.
So how many teams do you think we got some tangible information about what kind of team they are this year, you think, Chris?
Well, given that the league scheduled Bishop Sycamore about 10 times in week 1, it's hard to tell. But look, here's the way I see it right now. I think you've got Georgia is the head of the class of everybody. Alabama feels to me, Western Kentucky is a better opponent than most people played. I mean, that was impressive, beating Western like that and holding an offense that traditionally is pretty good to no points. I feel like Texas showed up a little better than I thought. Beating Colorado State 52 scratch was a really nice win. I thought Ole Miss was the second best team in the conference coming into the season behind Georgia. I don't think that 76-0 over Furman. That doesn't make me feel any worse about them. I don't like to get excited when you're just beating patsies, but I think what Tennessee did and the way Nico looked was impressive. And I think you've got Missouri, figured to be a playoff contender. And I've been big on Oklahoma. I think that team defensively, I mean, they got All-Americans at safety and linebacker and Bowman and Stutzman, and defensive linemen looked pretty good. And, the offense wasn't quite what I wanted. But they had some injuries and held some guys out, so you just don't know. But I feel like you've got
there's a lot of players in this conference.
Yeah, you've got a really solid top 8 right there. I'm hoping A&M would make it in there, but not at this point. I mean, you've got, probably 4 teams that could win the national title and another 4 that I think right now you can say if they made the playoffs, it wouldn't shock you.
So Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, and with the 4th,
Bama.
Yeah, okay, Bama. Okay, yeah, that's hard to disagree. Because at least that was the talk in Dallas of needing to be in that 4-team tier for a playoff run, and I would say, Ole Miss very efficient against Furman, but I didn't really discern anything. I tell you one team.
So when you watch that game, it's not the fact that they shut out Furman. It's that Furman had trouble getting back to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
They just can't blow. The defensive line for Ole Miss is elite, and the rest of the players aren't bad. And that's scary when you think that Lane Kiffin is the coach on the offense at the same time. So
yeah. I was going to go Oklahoma answered at least a little bit of a question for me because of all the transfers, especially along the offensive line. That they at least showed me that there is some real potential, I think, with this Oklahoma team.
Yeah, no, the problem there is they got Branson Hickman hurt, their center transfer from SMU. And I watched that game when he went out, I think mid to late first quarter. They had to shift some guys around. It didn't go as well. I feel like he's going to miss a little time, which they can afford to do.
Yeah.
Their next couple of games aren't all that. And then they get Tennessee, which I think is going to be one of the games of the year in the country, maybe, just stylistically how they match up. But I'm watching that too. That was my concern. And when Hickman out, it just didn't look as good offensively for them. But, you know, they did get – that gives you the luxury of getting some other guys' experience, trying some different combinations. So if they can get through the next 2 weeks, which are Houston and Tulane, fine, which I think they will, and you can get him back, it looks a little different against Tennessee.
It does. It does. And did you get anything out of Auburn's performance against Alabama A&M?
You know, I don't like to make much of that, but you guys tell me that feels like a game that last year they win maybe 44-7.
Yeah, I don't think they could have scored 70 against Air. I mean,
and you had two shortened quarters too, did you not?
Yeah.
So yeah, to me, they I mean, when they have to face a SEC defensive line, it's going to be interesting to see how they do. I think they'll still they're going to be very competitive. I mean, they're going to make plays, and how the defense will be able to stop. It's going to be interesting to watch. But I don't think we have to watch that for a minute. You know, watching California in the Auburn game last year was I mean, it's hard to watch. I mean, period.
Yeah.
If you're a football fan, I think that'll be totally different. I think Auburn. What's the line on that? I think Auburn's going to win by 3 touchdowns.
Well, I didn't know what to discern from Cal's performance against UC Davis. I mean, I don't know who I know less about, honestly, Chris. Cal, or this is your classic ACC versus SEC matchup, right?
Well, Cal had under 300 yards last week.
Yeah,
right at.
Yeah.
I think they were either a little bit under or just a little bit over. But I mean that's not really what you want when you're playing UC Davis and you've got to go to the SEC the next week.
Yeah. So we'll see in that regard, but it's a case where I didn't feel like even with Tennessee playing NC State and how much NC State struggled as well in their first game. I don't know how good of a game we're going to get there between the Volunteers and the Wolfpack.
Yeah, I don't gamble on games, and that's one of those though that feel like if I did, I mean 7 points that feels like a gift. I've got some computer models that I put together. They got that more like 18 or 16. That just doesn't feel right to me. But the trick is like right when you feel like bet the house on something. Those are the ones that get you. But that just from a guy that doesn't do that and just looking at it, that feels a little bit off to me.
Any chance Mississippi State can give the conference a big win at Arizona State?
There's a chance, but Arizona State's year 2 under Kenny Dillingham, it looked pretty good for them last week. They won 47-6.
I did not see that one. I did not watch that.
Yeah, put up almost 500 yards. That feels like a team that's maybe a little bit better than we thought, because I think preseason, kind of looking at it, that one looked like a pick'em, and then you got the travel out west, and you're starting a game at 9:30 Central. That usually favors the team that's in its backyard. Oh, by the way, they're not that State hasn't played in the heat, but it's awful out there. I think that seems like it's not an ask out of their reach, but that feels like if I'm betting my life on it, that seems like a spot where I take Arizona State. But I don't think it's it's not a game it's a game they can win. I'll put it that way.
And then we get our first conference game, and that is South Carolina at Kentucky. Oh, goodness. I mean, Kentucky still looking to play their first full game. And South Carolina, you talk about some ugly football. I did watch that, and I was gritting my teeth. In all rights, they should have lost to the Monarchs, but they did not.
I felt like they were doing their impression of Auburn last year, where you can't move the ball, you can't throw the ball. You'd run it a little bit, although they weren't great at that. And the defense kind of bails you out. I mean, at this day and age of college football, you've got to be able to move the ball. And I think when Rocket Sanders is getting 3.7 a carry, and when Sellers, I think, is 11 to 24 for a buck something maybe, that I don't know. That was a game they were, I think, a 20, 22-point favorite in their place. And you had fans leaving early. I mean, they have sold Sellers all off season. I'm not saying they don't know what they're talking about, but it has been a sunny side up forecast. They've talked about him and the leadership, and he did run for 13 or 1,400 yards as I think a high school senior. He's a big kid. He's 6'4", 245 or whatever they list him at. But you got to be able to throw the ball, and they didn't do that. Nick Harbor didn't have any catches week one. That's a team. You do see teams get a lot better from week one to week two, and boy, that's one that needs to get better from week one to week two.
But every time I think I've got even Kentucky pinned down, they show me something else. So I have no idea how to break down this South Carolina-Kentucky matchup. I don't know what we're going to get.
Well, I think the question is quarterback. You don't know quite what you're going to get there yet because you've seen them start for 2.5 quarters. But I think their defense, guys, I think their defense is really good. You got a first rounder up front in the trenches in Deion Walker. You got 2 or 3, it might be second or third team, but all SEC type linebackers and edge guys. You got a corner in Hairston who's a first team all league pick. You got 3 really good receivers. I think they've got a lot of pieces there. Now, offensively, they've had a lot of issues the last few years putting it together with any consistency. They've changed coordinators more times than I can count, so you don't know. But I trust them to win a football game more than I do Carolina right now. And oh, by the way, it's in their yard.
100%.
Chris, I will.
Kentucky's going to win this game.
Chris, I will pass along. Do not do that phrase of you get better from week 1 to week 2 to Deion Sanders. I don't know if you heard this earlier today, but.
Hey, Coach. So a lot of times coaches will say that the most improvements made from that first game to second game. Curious if you believe that first off.
I don't know who said that.
Okay. A lot of coaches say that, but
who? It is written? It is written.
Yes, it's written.
I don't know where that said. I don't know.
But anyway, my question.
So there you go, Chris. So
I'm just glad they can ask questions.
It's getting better in Colorado.
Well put. And that's a decent matchup as well. I think Nebraska is a 7 or a 7.5 point home favorite over Colorado. We'll see how that matches up this weekend.
You can ask questions.
They're fun to watch.
Yeah, you have ask questions to the head coach, and Venezuela gangs are taking up rent.
I won't touch that one.
Chris, I appreciate the insight, sir. And that maybe it'll be fun to watch Vandy football in the entire season of 2024. If it's anything like the first game, then, man, I'm ready. Give me some more doors. Anchor down.
It'd be a nice change. I'd welcome that.
Chris, appreciate the time, sir.
Thanks, guys.
That is Chris Lee, who you can follow Chris on Twitter at Chris Lee 70. So also Deion and his press conference today also had this to say about Travis Hunter.
He's not smoking, not drinking, not outside whoring, not doing crazy things. He's at one of the highest GPAs on the team. Like, he's a great human being, and he can play.
And he can play.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, Deion was not as adversarial as he was in early August when he was not giving CBS the time of day. But his press conference was very entertaining yet again. And yeah, I got a couple more. Also, Dion made this announcement after the very first question was asked after his opening statement.
Coach Brian Howell, the validity of the camera.
Okay, I don't mind, Brian. Can we start off from now on with one of the ladies? It's just being gentlemen. Like, you could go then, but from now on, we're going to start off with one of the ladies. Let's go.
So he's running the press conference how he wants to run the press conference.
Right. He's everything all in one. He's the what do you call it? The press secretary. And
I mean,
it's interesting. I think he's doing too much. I think he needs just to lay back and worry about coaching the team and developing his players, which I think he's good at, instead of coaching the press, although Coach Saban got away with it. But
boy, did he
sooner or later, they're going to turn on him really bad.
Man, there were several questions to Kalen DeBoer that I kind of winced at, and I was like, oh, that's right, Nick's not down there.
Oh, yeah.
So
is there a nicer guy than Kalen DeBoer?
Oh, my gosh. He even at one point mentioned in his press conference, well, I guess you guys don't have any more questions asked because I'm getting all the same questions. Yeah, that's what you're getting there, Coach.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and take our first time out. If you're on hold, we will get right to you on the other side, I promise. If you're on hold, stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
If hunting and outdoor recreation are your passions, it all starts with the right property. That's where I come in. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction, a hunting and recreational land specialist and a Jackson County native who sees land through a hunter's eyes. Just as you trust your guide on a big game hunt, you can trust me to find the perfect property for you. Thinking of selling? Let me help you make your land attract buyers. Remember, Bo knows land. Call me at 256-609-0512.
This summer, make it a Woody Anderson Ford. Make it 0% financing, make it no down payment, and make no payments for 90 days. Hey folks, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford. It's our Ford Summer Sales event, and I promise you, you can save serious dollars on a large selection of our 2024 Fords. We've got financing as low as 0% for 36 months on 2024 F-150, Explorer, Expedition, Edge, Escape, plus all-electric F-150 Lightning and Mustang Mach-E. And on all these Fords I just mentioned, you'll make no down payment and no payments for 90 days. Can you say Orange Beach, here we come? This is going to be a good summer. Come choose from over 550 new Fords, and you'll learn firsthand that nobody will work harder to earn your business. Brand new award-winning Fords with 0% financing, no down payment, and no payment for 90 days with your good credit. This offer ends 9/3/24. Come see us today and make it a Woody Anderson Ford. Hope to see you soon.
Next time you're online looking for landscaping inspiration, open Instagram and check out Southern Gent Landscaping. They can help make your yard your dream outdoor oasis. Southern Gent Landscaping can handle it all, from landscape maintenance and installation to irrigation and hardscapes, even AstroTurf. Turn your yard into a landscape you'll be proud to show off. Call Southern Gent Landscaping at 256-509-6088. 509-6088. Southern Gent Landscaping. Professional landscaping performed with satisfaction guaranteed.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked the reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
Since 1986, Full Moon Barbecue has been cooking quality meats low and slow over a hickory wood-fired pit. From ribs and wings, brisket, turkey, catfish, and sausage to the best butts in town. If you're planning a holiday or a birthday party, Full Moon has a large banquet room. And Full Moon is ready for your next catering or tailgate. Just call us and we'll take care of everything. 256-713-0070. Full Moon Barbecue on the Parkway next to Costco. The best little pork house in Alabama. Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com.
Walking you up to Braves baseball as soon as we are done. 256-576-4977 is the telephone number. 256-576-4977. Just got my email from the SEC office about tomorrow's teleconference because tomorrow is Wednesday, Wes.
Love Wednesdays. Easy Wednesdays. That's what they ought to call them. Easy Wednesdays.
It's now easier Wednesdays
Yes.
because tomorrow is now Hey Coach as well. And we're only on for an hour on Wednesdays.
Yeah, I don't like that necessarily. Like being
Well,
bomb hours, though.
We will like to get a full NFL game in on Thursday because we've landed the NFL contract, and that launches Thursday. And on Thursday night, you're going to get the Baltimore Ravens traveling to Kansas City.
What a game that could be, right?
And that
for a first game,
that pregame starts at 6:30 on Thursday.
The best regular season team versus the Super Bowl winner.
Yeah, that's right. Looking for a three-peat are the Chiefs. But let's talk to Brandon, who held through the break. How are you, Brandon?
Man, I was sitting here working and listening to y'all, and I'm wondering at what point Deion's just going to start handing out social credit points. Like, you got to have so many points to get in.
That's right.
So many points to ask a question.
Yeah, no whoring, but ladies first.
It's not smoking, not drinking, not outside whoring.
You can whore inside at the Diamond Club or wherever, the Cheetah. I guess that's okay.
I didn't get the outside whoring either.
I didn't either. That's what got me.
Is that with or inside whoring with the Colorado students? That's acceptable.
I guess so. I mean, I
don't know.
I don't know. The dude could be beloved if he would just act right.
He's fighting it. So he's fighting it.
Thank you all. God bless.
He does a lot of good things. I listen to his speeches to his players, and it changes my opinion. And I get, the press is your best friend until they're not, and he's going through a little bit of that. But I agree with you totally.
He did set up for players that have kids a scholarship fund for those players, or for those kids rather, and he started it off with $2,121, 2121, his old jersey number. So I mean, he is doing a lot of good things.
Coach Bryant paid
like
for every kid that led for any kid, anybody that led it for him, paid for all their colleges at Alabama. Fact. How about that?
Good. That's good stuff. I'm just saying that Deion would probably do better if he didn't want to do battle with the media.
No question, because they're his best friend. He just doesn't know it. And I'm sure there's two that are not. But you can handle a little getting on the guy that works for CBS.
Yeah.
I didn't agree with that. Because he didn't do anything.
But you're okay with the columnist from the Denver Post you loved the little back and forth back in early August.
Well, I mean,
why do you do this? Why do you do this?
Yeah, well, I mean, he called him out. Coach Saban would have done that. He called people out for
not like that.
But not like that. That's true. But he still he called him out in his own way. I just if the guy's hammering you in the paper and then I get him being upset about it, but picking out CBS, the guy works for me, hadn't done anything too. That's something different, in my opinion.
I just feel like as a coach, if you go out there, even like Mike Norvell right now, he has not gone toxic towards the media. He's taking his medicine and he's doing what he can do, but he's not become radioactive and melting down and turning himself into a spectacle. And I feel like that is the best way to handle it.
Yeah.
You got to take your medicine. Or you can be like Brett Billman, make jokes about hopping on the wife because you're distracted and stuff like that. You can be fun-loving and lovable to an extent throughout your misery. And I just feel like somebody needs to be like, hey, you do a lot of good stuff. Don't shadow the good stuff you do by being so combative.
Agree with you totally.
You guys use it all the time. What is it?
It's great. I wonder how many sounders y'all are going to have from him.
We're getting a lot from between Coach Saban's commercials
to get you like this,
and I mean, this is the duck, the year of the duck, obviously.
You like the early commercials with Dion and Coach Nick and Prime?
Oh yeah, I like those, and I thought the Dr. Pepper commercial.
I didn't see that one
with Quinn Ewers talking about how that he hopes that a former Heisman Trophy winner and all this, and it was a dig at the Mannings, but not really a dig, but it was an inside joke. I thought that was very creative.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it was. I've only seen it once, and it was very creative.
Nothing tops the Verbo. Nothing tops Nick Saban.
Daddy time.
I just wish they could figure out how to get him in that commercial with the guy from Allstate. Like the one he did where he saw a referee being chased out of town on the worst day of my life, and you see him in that station wagon, and he's hitting everything on the way out there. And then
those are great commercials. That guy's made a living from those commercials.
Like if they had Coach Saban walk in the store that's all Auburn fans, and it just need insurance for when you get attacked, make it a little bit more funnier, play it up a little bit, some stuff like that. So, y'all did a great job. Roll Tide and have a great night.
Thank you,
Brandon.
This is Daddy time in the tub.
This is Daddy time in the tub.
So Coach DeBoer was asked about Nick Saban, and the field will be named after Coach Saban this Saturday. Here is what Coach DeBoer had to say on that.
Yeah, it's we talked actually before the game. He gave me a call on Thursday, and that was really cool for the guys. And he wanted me to pass along that, he's thinking about him and wishing him the best and going to be, rooting for him. And, you can just tell how much he cares about not just the program, but the individuals within it. So wanted to make sure I passed that along because I think that was important for them to hear, important from both ends. And so, and it's going to be an awesome night, having the field named in honor of Coach. And that's really something special. It's one of those things where you're going to play in it and you know what's happening, but being a part of the ceremony is something the team really can't do. We're in the middle of probably a pregame meal and some of those type of prep work, but just to have that, the whole honor for Coach Saban, everything he's done here. I know how much that will mean to him. And it's something that I know we have a lot of respect for, and going to make sure that we, continue to do everything we can to make it our house and protect our field here on out, just like it's been in the 17 years that he was here.
Yeah, went by so fast, didn't it? 17 years. It's crazy. So you look at
but that train keeps on trucking down the same tracks.
So you look at what was cool watching the game for me is to have Coach Saban in his box as like a fan.
Yeah.
And Miss Terry just loving it, acting like she's still coaching.
Yeah.
And then having Coach Saban. The one thing I'd want to know is he had both cornerbacks from last year. Good night. Once you quit, I forget your name. Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
And the other side of the corner was maybe one of the best improved players that I've ever seen in Tuscaloosa from year over year over year. And at the other corner last year, and both of them were in his box. And, of course, they're both had they don't want to fall in any water. They had the chains on and all that, but still. And he went up and started talking to him. I know he was giving him advice.
Yeah.
About something, And I would love to have been on fly on the wall to hear what he was telling us.
I saw,
but the fact that they were
yeah.
in there,
yeah,
it says a lot to me.
Still coaching DBs.
Yes.
It was one of the little things that I saw on Twitter of still coaching.
So, Coach Bryant, of course, wasn't retired, but his players were petrified of him. And there's stories about my dad jumping in a bush to not have to talk to him, when they're going to pass on the street and stuff like that. But Coach Bryant called my dad after he heard he was in town and didn't come see him. He said, "Don't ever let me hear about you being in Tuscaloosa. You don't come see me." And that was the beginning of their friendship. And it's just, it means a lot to these coaches. Like you could tell with Coach Fuller and me, and that their players, they put so much time and effort, and you don't realize it when you're there, how much they really care about you, because they're pushing you to a point that you couldn't do anything yourself that they're asking you to do. You have to have somebody pushing you to do it. And I've said that on the air. There's a fine line, and it's just they got into the profession to shape young men. And I don't think anybody ever did it any better than Nick Saban.
256-576-4977, the telephone number. Some other sound bites that kind of perked up my ears was one thing that we're all getting used to is this new 12-team playoff. And Steve Sarkisian was asked about, there was a couple of questions that I thought were interesting. Stark's a good listen because he will be very honest when asked a good question.
Yeah, very candid.
But this is a new playoff format, so this is really not do or die for Texas because arguably, it is. They can still win the SEC and get that automatic berth and play good enough to be in the playoff and not beat Michigan at Michigan.
Yeah, I again, because of the new format, I like this matchup even more. Because I think this is why you come to a Texas or you go to a Michigan, is to play in games like this. Our guys love this opportunity, and I'm sure their players do too, and I think the coaches do as well, that we get to go play in a marquee game on the road in a great environment for college football. And in a couple of years, we get to do it here with them as well. And on the same token, if you win this game, it's great. If you don't, it isn't going to kill you. And, one thing I touched on to reference the game against Alabama a year ago, that this game isn't going to define our season, because if we win the game, that doesn't, automatically, declare us that we're going to be this great team. And if we don't win the game, that doesn't mean that, the season was a failure. There's a lot of football left to be played. But what I think Saturday will do for us is serve as a bit of a barometer of kind of where we're at as a football team this fall. We're going to get challenged in all three phases. And then, okay, what do we need to work on and where do we need to keep growing and getting ourselves prepared for the Southeastern Conference? And so, ideally it can serve as a springboard for the rest of the season. But we'll find out, Saturday, I guess around 3:30 or 4 o'clock or so.
That is Sark. And he was asked about maybe taking away a few things, what turned into a road victory at Alabama last year for this road trip to Ann Arbor.
Well, I think so. We have, I think it's 46 guys that are going to be traveling this week with us that were at Tuscaloosa a year ago. And so, we've got, that's about half the guys that'll be on the trip were in Tuscaloosa a year ago. And I think one of the keys is one, you have to have great poise and composure when you're on the road in these types of environments. This is a game of emotion. There's no question. But we need to make sure that we don't get emotional in the arena. That's the first part. Two is playing with a real sense of confidence and belief in who we are in our style of play. We know this is a heck of a challenge. We know this will be a 4-quarter game. But stay in the course, especially when adversity strikes, because it will strike. People forget last year in the fourth quarter, we were behind in that game. And then we ended up scoring 21 points and we ended up finishing that game on a 7-minute drive to close the game out. And so stay in the course, keeping our poise, keeping our composure, having a real sense of belief, playing as one, as a team and pulling for one another. You know, there's going to be over 100,000 people that want us to play bad, and there's going to be about 100 of us that want us to play good. And so we need to lean into that 100 and making sure that we're as strong as we can be.
That is Steve Sarkisian.
That is a great quote.
It really is. Hugh Freeze also spoke to the media yesterday. I realized I played the entire press conference yesterday. For those of you that were not listening here during this program, the subject of Peyton Thorne and the iPads were brought up coming off of game 1 against the Bulldogs of Alabama A&M.
Oh yeah, I talked to him right after the play on the sidelines. But and now we got those iPads over there where I can, or Jesse, if I'm busy, or if there's a timeout, I go and say, "Do you see what I see?" And Peyton can take the hard coaching. I wish the camera wasn't on me all the time. My wife got on me about one of those, but you know, it was a third down play that I know how critical those downs are in coming weeks. And I expect him to get those right. And I think that's a positive that he should take. Is if I didn't believe he should get those right, I wouldn't be quite as upset, but I expect him to get that right 95% of the time on certain things that I was upset with the other night. I was only really upset one time. I was frustrated a few others on, and he still made good throws and made a touchdown or whatever, but he didn't get himself protected like he's supposed to. And I don't want him taking unnecessary hits. And I made it clear I believe in him. And with that, though, comes the expectation that if I know we have thoroughly discussed something, then the expectation is you get that right. He handles that fine.
So his expectation is 95% right there, and anything below 95% is unacceptable there.
Well, so for them to beat a good team, he is going to have to be better, is what the coach just said. He can't miss those checks. He can't do the defense to the wrong side, because he's going to take hits. He's going to be sacked. In other words, he's making mistakes still, and coach is trying to correct him and get him to where he's not making those mistakes, because against Alabama and A&M, a team not in their division, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it will matter in the big games, because they got Georgia and Alabama on their schedule, and some other top 5 teams, top 10 teams, and they're trying to get back to a level where they can compete with them, and they're getting the recruits to do it, but they have to have the quarterback making the right calls for them to be competitive in those games. And when I mean competitive, have a chance to win.
They were competitive last year. Especially in the fourth quarter,
well,
in both Georgia and Alabama games,
but weren't in a lot of the other games that they lost. That they should.
In Mexico,
they should have been competitive, and it comes with consistency of play. So they showed in the Alabama Georgia game that they had the capability of doing it, and they showed in the 2 other losses they had at the end of the year that the things he's saying they have to do to be a more consistent team. So are they capable of doing it? Well, yeah, they showed that, but will they do it every game to game? And that's what he's trying to get to. And it's a process. It's a mental process of what is expected of you. And because the Auburn fan base want championships. They were able to do it in 2010, and they've come close a couple other times, and they know they're capable of it, but they got to get to that level. And Hugh Freeze has never won a championship at a major college level. But I think he has. He's recruiting like he's going to be able to do it now, and so he has to have the expectations for that to happen, because you got to see it and work for it. It just doesn't happen.
Arkansas is taking the short trip over to Stillwater to take on the Cowboys of Oklahoma State. This is the 47th time that these two teams have squared off, but the first time since September 20th of 1980. And despite the fact that people want to age the Oklahoma State quarterback to maybe being born back in 1980. This is his 8th year of eligibility and his 3rd different team that he's been a quarterback for. I'm speaking of Alan Bowman. It's his 7th year as a collegiate quarterback, and Sam Pittman was asked about the Cowboys QB.
They don't run him quite as much. He's sneaky. You know, they ran him in a draw the other day, and he made good yardage on that. But, you know, what they're asking him to do, he can do it and do it well, and gets the ball out extremely fast. It's hard to get to him, hard to sack him. A, because they're good at protection, but B, because he gets rid of the ball. But with that bubble, goes, RPOs, he's really good at that. I think he probably knows their offense as good as anybody does, but as good as the head coach does, you know. So he's a really good player, and what they do with him is right down his wheelhouse, and really playing well, takes care of the football.
He's 26 years old, and again, 7th year of eligibility.
What about the guy from Miami?
I know, the 9th year. Yeah, I know. That's the first time I heard about the Oklahoma State quarterback having what is his 7th year of eligibility. I don't know if you heard about that, but it just struck me as, oh, okay, so that's some news that at least I was not aware of. Let's go ahead and take our final timeout. Final call for phone calls right here on The Drive. We'll be back.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Chapman Commercial Realty, your source for Alabama commercial real estate. Chapman Commercial Realty has the experience and expertise you're looking for when making commercial real estate decisions. If it's office space, retail space, investment property, or project development, Chapman Commercial Realty is your answer. Call Bill Chapman today at 256-656-8413. That's 256-656-8413. Or find them online at chapmancommercialrealty.com.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
It's an amazing time in our industry. Things are changing so rapidly. With digital signatures and workflow software, we help our customers work from anywhere. This helps you save time and money and upgrade your technology. Like I said, it's an amazing time to watch our customers grow and succeed.
Just ask anyone. A Lion's secret.
Are you tired of power outages disrupting your life? It's time for a Generac standby generator from Current Electrical. Storms may rage outside, but inside your family's powered up. So why choose Current Electrical for your generator needs? 1, we offer a wide range of models to suit every budgeted energy requirement. 2, our project managers handle every step of the process: power, gas, permitting, and inspections. 3, our certified technicians install your generator with precision, ensuring peace of mind. Don't wait for the next blackout. Call 256-880-1880 or visit us online at jetsuperstore.com.
Eagle Masonry and Installation. It's right there in the name. Eagle is your one-stop shop for block, stone, or brickwork, monument signs, and outdoor kitchens and fireplaces. Eagle also offers the finest craftsmanship and insulation, including fiberglass or spray foam insulation, and of course, insulation removal. Philip Love and his team have years of experience bringing the region the best in masonry and insulation services. For more information and a quote, visit insulatewitheagle.com or call 256-755-1556. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
Not looking or feeling your best? No energy for the things you like to do? Ready to look and feel younger? Make your appointment at Advanced Life Clinic, one of the region's foremost destinations for patients interested in looking and feeling their best. Specializing in advanced laser treatments and weight loss, male and female rejuvenation to offset the effects of aging, and more. See how Advanced Life Clinic can help you enjoy your life again. Call 256-882-6555 or log on advancedlifeclinic.com.
If hunting and outdoor recreation are your passions, it all starts with the right property. That's where I come in. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction, a hunting and recreational land specialist and a Jackson County native who sees land through a hunter's eyes. Just as you trust your guide on a big game hunt, you can trust me to find the perfect property for you. Thinking of selling? Let me help you make your land attract buyers. Remember, Bo knows land. Call me at 256-609-0512.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A partly sunny to mostly cloudy sky this afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 80s. An isolated, widely scattered shower or thunderstorm certainly can't be ruled out across the Tennessee Valley, but it looks like the vast majority of us are going to be dry. We're going to drop into the mid and upper 60s, maybe the lower 70s as we head into the overnight early Wednesday morning, much the same through Wednesday afternoon. A mostly cloudy sky, temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 80s with a couple of isolated, widely scattered showers and thunderstorms dropping into the upper 60s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Listen to Madison Academy football all season long.
And it is covered up by the Mustangs in the end zone. Touchdown Madison Academy. Touchdown Madison Academy.
On 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Great song. Great song.
Well, if you're gonna have a Monday on a Tuesday, you need to have better music.
Great point.
You have not missed a darn thing as the Braves and Rockies are scoreless. I mean, what? Rockies are awful. It is the third inning. The Rockies are 51-87 this year, and they're probably going to win the series.
Real quick, I talked to a couple of our listeners today.
Yes, sir.
We are working. We've talked to you before. We changed streaming providers.
We did.
And so I've talked to folks that looks like things have settled out, except for those who use the TuneIn app. I talked to some guys down.
I emailed TuneIn, but TuneIn responds on their time.
Right.
So,
but I talked to some great guys who work out of Etowah County that listen to us every day. Our signal doesn't make it up over that hump on Sand Mountain. So they use the TuneIn app. And I said, well, here's a great opportunity. Get that 97.7 ESPN, the Zone app.
That's right.
And go ahead and get the Talk Radio WZZN app while you're at it. Listen to it. Don't have to worry about what TuneIn does. If it changes, we'll let you know. But if you know somebody who listens and uses TuneIn, let them know we're working on it. We are working on it. But just go to your phone's marketplace.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go to your phone's marketplace and just look for 97.7 ESPN or our website, 97.7ESPN.com. And we've got links there where you can download the app. And you'll need it for Friday night for our high school football. It's an insane amount of football on Friday night.
It's a lot of football.
It is crazy. So I was going to say, we didn't change provider. Our provider changed us.
That is accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't our decision,
It's
right?
the old thing. I need a volunteer and everybody but you steps back. Yeah.
Yeah,
There you
exactly.
Big fish eat little fish.
Yeah, that's what happens every time. You get a good one, somebody will buy them.
256-576-4977 telephone number.
I swear he's done that before.
I just wanted an excuse to listen to the whole song.
I'm good with that.
I'm just filling space.
I'm good with that.
Like my first two wives said, I'm just filling space. Might as well be furniture.
Some other news of the day just from coaches. Let's see here. Lane Kiffin was asked about the in-helmet communication and had this to say on how that went against the Paladins.
Yeah, I thought it was just a different game with it. Now, again, I think it's going to be neutralized because the defense has it and you have it. So, but it's just different. So it's extremely valuable. You know, you got to be careful how much you're watching this. It's almost like screen time with kids. You know, you're looking down at your phone and all of a sudden there's something third down on defense, a penalty, and I'm not looking to figure out what to do. So I actually found myself missing more defensive plays than normal with it. So, you know, just got to get used to it. But it's very unique and a lot of stuff on there you can go through.
That is Lane Kiffin getting distracted by all that new technology in our.
He's finally at the age the co-eds aren't doing it anymore.
Wow.
Rocket City won their first game out of a doubleheader today, 8-4. If you tune over to Talk Radio WZZN 97.7.2, you'll hear the other half of that. Also, we got Braves coming up here in just, about 30 seconds?
He's not smoking, not drinking, not outside whoring, not doing crazy things. He's said that one of the highest GPAs on the team. Like, he's a great human being, and he could play.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
For the first time tonight, no score, bottom of the third.